I'm Micah Jesse here for WHOSAY, and today we are joined by Grant Langston, the CEO of the second largest online dating company, eHarmony. Welcome to WHOSAY.
Hi, Micah. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Glad
so
to be
you're
here.
LA. You joined us on one of the snowiest, coldest days in New York City.
I heard a weatherman say yesterday we were going to have every kind of weather in 2 days, and yesterday it was 60 and sunny and beautiful. And today it's like a blizzard out there.
It's unbelievable. And if anyone out there is doubting climate change, we are feeling it right here in New York City.
Wow. Snow, slush, it's 30 degrees.
Everything, all of the above. So
Yeah.
you have been at the company at eHarmony since its inception in like 2000.
Yes.
It's grown so much. It's gone through so many different idioms, if you will.
Yeah.
Let's start with the basics though. What is the goal of eHarmony?
The reason eHarmony was founded and is still the reason that we're in business today is to help people find enduring relationships. We have got an expertise in something, and we've spent 16 years trying to get better at it, and we think that that's our best use for the world, and that's really why we are in existence, is to give people matches that are put with them for reasons that we believe, research-based, will yield better relationships.
You mentioned research, so I wanted to bring up the fact that when you first started, I read there was something like 450 questions in a survey that people had to answer. And I remember when I was in the dating game, you know, I tried them all, you know?
Yeah.
And for a while, you're asking a lot of questions and you're like, how is this all being added up? How is it computing? And I guess what I'm wondering is, how do those questions help yield the results that you guys are looking for?
Great question. So it's worth spending a few minutes talking about that sort of original research, because that's what took us in the direction of the questionnaire. We took about 1,000 couples who were married and happy or not happy, and we gave them a questionnaire to understand how happy they were. And so we ended up with 4 groups: the very happy couples, the sort of happy couples, the sort of unhappy, and the very unhappy. And we threw out the 2 middle. So we had very happy couples and very unhappy couples that had been married for years and years. And we tried to understand, what's the difference between these 2 groups? What do these people have that this group does not have? And what we came to understand is the group that was happy was similar in about 30 foundational ways. And the people that were not happy had more or less dissimilarity in those areas. And it was creating a lot of friction in their relationships. So that process taught us, what are the things we need to know about you to find out who you are in these 30 areas, right? And then, of course, because people will sometimes answer questions to try and be something or portray themselves, we needed to ask those questions from different angles. Ask the same question about the same trait in a different way. And when we started, that just added up to 450 questions, which was a lot. And over the years, we've gotten a lot better at this. We've learned which questions correlate to other questions. In other words, the results of one and another are always synced, so we can throw one of those 2 out. And we've learned through experience which questions really matter and which ones don't matter so much. So today, it's about 140 questions.
Interesting. That's where I was getting at next.
Yeah.
And then, of those questions, which are the most pivotal, would you say, in matching people? Like, what are people's primary focuses? What are the, I guess, the primary things that are bringing people together?
Well, the beauty of the system that we have is that you won't know as a user what's important or what isn't important. Because I'm going to be saying to you, tell me about your ambition. Tell me about your level of ambition. Tell me about your interest in being social with people, right? And you're just sort of answering as you see yourself. And at the end of that process, we're taking all that information and we're building an algorithmic snapshot of who you are. What is your personality like? And we feel like we have a very good mechanism for understanding you at a deep level. And so we know who works with you and who doesn't work with you. And so we take your profile and compare it to all the other people in the site. And that way we understand this person and this person have enough compatibility to be assigned as matches.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the idea of the science behind finding your perfect match, Mashable cites a recent study that your office in Australia did, and I wanted to know what your take on that is.
Well, I'm not sure I remember exactly what that study said. It was about, give it to me again. What?
It's the science behind finding your perfect match.
Right.
It's just kind of the idea of what scientific elements in humanity, I guess, if you will, are what bring people together.
Well, I would say that there are a lot of traits, about 30, that we match people on. Mm-hmm. The number one thing that makes you the most compatible with people is adaptability. Adaptability is like the universal connector. If you are high on adaptability, you work with a lot of different people. And if you're very low, then you can imagine you're kind of a rigid person and you don't flex in either direction very well. The number of people that can be matched with you is significantly smaller. So adaptability is kind of this magic trait that lets you be either very compatible or less so. In terms of just the philosophy of science behind eHarmony, I think the way I would put it is, if you're similar with someone in the ways that matter, your life together just feels easy. Because when it comes time to make a decision about something, you guys are just synced up. And things just feel simple. When I talk to eHarmony success couples, one of the things I hear them say over and over again is, our relationship's really easy. It kind of works. And they don't know why, but the reason it does is because they're not arguing and compromising about a lot of important issues. On the other side, when a couple is not matched very well, every big dispute is a compromise. And one of those or two of those isn't going to spell the end of the relationship. But the more you have, the more friction you have in the relationship. And what tends to happen is year 5, 6, 8, 10, one of the people just says, I can't do this anymore. This is just, it's too much work. There's a lot of friction and we're arguing and we're constantly trying to settle these issues. That's what it looks like from the outside when a relationship isn't very compatible.
I can imagine that in today's climate, with not the snow outside actually, but the political climate, there could be a lot of friction in people's relationships. There must be some couples out there, several, maybe hundreds of them out there, that have different political views. I did read a study though recently that said that, in general, not just with eHarmony, so I'm interested to know where eHarmony stands here, that people have been joining dating apps, looking for love now more than ever. What has been your experience at eHarmony?
Well, I have been around a long time, Micah, and long enough to tell you that I was at eHarmony when 9/11 happened. And of course, that was this huge shock, and we stopped advertising and really took a minute to say, what's appropriate? But in terms of our business, people flooded into the business. People used eHarmony and they communicated and they were really searching for somebody. And I think that's because when times are uncertain, people don't want to be alone. And we've seen the same kind of thing since the 8th of November. I think no matter what side of the spectrum you're on, it's a more unpredictable period now than it was a year ago, let's say. And people have rushed into our business, and I think it's sort of the same feeling out there that, okay, I got to be with somebody. I don't want to come home and sort this all out on my own. And we've seen an increase in that way.
I know this is kind of a sensitive subject, but in 2008, the company, created a separate site for LGBT couples called Compatible Partners. I noticed that when I went onto eHarmony today, there's options for male, female on both sides of the spectrum. You could be male looking for male, female, male, female. Why was that important to make that change for eHarmony specifically? And when did that happen?
Well, if you had selected male, male or female, female, you would have been pushed to CP.
Gotcha.
So it's still there. And this is, of course, one of the decisions that I have to contend with in this new role. The reason that Compatible Partners was set up as a separate entity was because eHarmony was sued, and the court said, you have to start a separate site for this community. And we said, okay. So we set that up. That's now almost 10 years ago. What has happened in these 10 years is that CP has become a very successful business for us. So from the businessman standpoint, I look at it and I say, wow, you know, there are advantages to having it as a standalone business because you can market specifically to the community that uses it. You see this a lot in online dating. There's a site called blackpeoplemeet.com and asiandating.com and even military and JDate, of course. And the advantage to those is really from a marketing standpoint. You can focus your message directly on that community and get more result from your marketing dollar. That's all true, right? But at the same time, it feels a little weird in this day and age to have a separate site. And so, you know, we've talked about what would it take to roll it in. It's not a small feat, but it's certainly very possible. We have to contend with the fact that if the brand we've built goes away, we might lose some business because people are familiar with it. So there are a lot of issues about folding the two things together, but you know, the world has changed a lot in the last 10 years, 5 years, and it seems to me that we need to figure that out.
It seems like you're already well on your way. I mean, I was really pleased to see that. And, you know, for me personally, I met my partner on Tinder, which previously was, you know, just for our straight, you know, friends. And it was kind of what we decided was each of us individually was like, oh, let's go where, you know, the other gay friends of ours aren't going, and maybe we'll find love. And look, we did. But I'm interested, how has eHarmony kept up in the age of swiping? You know, I feel like it was always a .com, right? And now we're moving into these, you know, an app-driven world, and everything's just kind of like quick swiping. And you guys are much more data-focused than some of these other ones. How have you guys kind of modernized?
Great question. I think the first answer to that is that we haven't enough. We put apps out 5 years ago, sort of when apps became something that was possible. We went and built an iOS app and an Android app just like everyone else. But the focus of the business for the last 5 years has been on matching, research, marketing. We put a lot of effort into marketing. And the product, the interface that you use stayed pretty stale and dusty. And so, you know, when I became the CEO, that was an easy decision for me to make. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to update this interface. We're going to make it relevant to what the marketplace is. Because if Tinder's for you or it's not for you, you can't deny the fact that they have a great interface. It's super easy to use, and it works at what it's trying to do. And so we've made a lot of changes to, for example, the comm system within our apps and even on our site. It was a very old-fashioned, kind of an email-oriented thing, and we've trashed that and made it like Slack, just so that it's an instantaneous process. We still want to keep the good parts of the old system. We've always sort of recommended questions for you to ask a person, and our users like that, so we've kept that feature. But the whole thing now feels like any modern communication would feel, right? Another thing we did that's pretty interesting is that, you know, we've never revealed the reasons we make matches, which is kind of silly when you think about it. We're doing all this work to match you for reasons that matter, but we won't tell you about it. We just show you a picture and a profile just like everyone else. And we have this data, and I said, guys, we've got to build a dashboard that shows people why we match them. So we rolled that out in December, and it is a nice, pretty thing with graphs and percentages that shows you all the ways that we matched you with the person and how compatible you are. And that just gives you a whole new set of data to think about when you say, should I communicate to this person or not? And we put it in, and immediately profile views jumped 20%. So there was a real need for more data. And so that sounds like a wonky, data-driven feature, but really it just helps you make better choices about your matches.
Totally, and from a millennial perspective, and in a world where we live liking things and we count our likes and count our comments, we are data focused. Even as millennials, we want to see that dashboard. We want answers.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's terrific. And then wrapping things up before you go, I heard that you guys are going to be doing some humorous promotions for the company.
Well, we're researching. So if you look at a group of people, if you ask 1 million people, and we do that, what do you want most in a partner? Sense of humor is the number one thing they say. But we don't match on sense of humor, and you know what? Nobody else does either. Nobody has ever tried to figure out what it is. So we've started a process where we type people on humor. We show them videos, funny videos, and we have them rate, do you think this is funny or not funny?
I love that.
And at the end of that, we know what kind of humor you like. Do you like physical humor or witty wordplay or absurd humor or bodily humor? I mean, we get a real type, and then we're putting people together in sort of speed dating events and making them meet each other for 5 minutes and seeing if people with similar senses of humor hit it off in a speed date setting. So we've done 2 sessions. We did one in Sydney, one in LA, and we were going to do 3 more. And at that point, we'll know if humor predicts for better dates, and then we can roll it into the product.
Can't wait to find out.
So
the
wouldn't that be
details.
fun?
It would, and I think all we need right now is just a little bit of laughter, right?
I'm with you, man.